Welcome back. I'm your host, Courtney, and you are now tuning in to the Occasionally Social podcast. I just wanted to take the time to say thank you to everyone that has listened to the previous episodes and downloading them. I really, really appreciate it. And so let's get into today's episode topic. Well, before I get into the topic, there was a quote that came up on my timeline from Miss Jada Waiter. And it just spoke to me when she was talking about it. And one of the things she said that she wished she would have kind of knew beforehand was you can't have a testimony without a test. And when she said that, you can't have a testimony without a test, I just felt that in me that, wow, as many of tests that I've had, there's so much testimony that I have to share to others. Just to be a motivation to other people that you can get through it. And it really spoke to me, especially with my son's therapist, our last therapy session this past week, when she asked me, what changed your outlook? Because at the end of that session, she basically said that we're going to start wrapping it up. And I don't know how to feel about that. Like, even though she isn't my, specific therapist, she has been a part of our lives for 2 years now. And for her to say, I think it's time, basically the time to take the training wheels off and, ride that bicycle by yourself. And to be honest, I'm really nervous. So she did kind of say, okay, we can come back one more month and see how you're doing. But she thinks it's time that she's seen so much growth in me as a parent, in myself. But to go back to her question, when she asked me what changed my outlook, my answer to that was, if I wanted to see change, I needed to be the one that changed. I don't know if you need to hear that one more time. If you want to see change in yourself, you have to be the change for yourself. You can get all the therapy, you can get all the advice from everybody, but if you're not ready to change or willing to change, nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to move forward or progress. And right now I'm just looking at my notes because that was like a little deep feeling that I had, and I just kind of wrote it out to myself. Like, when I was telling her, I realized that I wanted better for myself, and I know that I can do it because I've done things that have made me triumph over challenges that I've had in my life. So this season of being down, it has to change. In order for that, I have to pick myself out of that season so that I can be better, in the future, if that makes sense. So what I wrote to myself was that realizing that I wanted better for myself, and that wasn't the normal Courtney. And normally I'm achieving goals, knocking them out. If I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And then just the last part of 2022, it just felt like I was being defeated. Everything was defeating me. And, sometimes you just get in your own way, self-sabotage, get in your own head about things. And until we are ready to actually change, we sit right through those things and keep saying, why does this keep happening? Why does this keep happening? Are you changing anything for that to not keep happening? No, then it's not going to change. And sometimes you have to hit that wall or hit that rock bottom point in your life, or it may not be that hard, but to you it might be your rock bottom. And sometimes you have to say, look, I can't go any further down, so I got to figure out how to go back up. And that's how you're going to see the difference in your life. And that's what I don't know if when I answered that question with her, if she was just like, okay, I see the change. Because for the longest time, we've been, talking about how I could be better. And because I haven't had my own personal therapist, which thank God she has been able to help me with resources to find my own. But she's actually been a help towards me even when she didn't have to be. It could have just been strictly therapy about my son, therapy about trying to get him better at working out his mood disorder and just regulating that. But she took the time to actually, because she saw that I was hurting, and like even when she asked me am I okay, I would cry. Like anybody that would ask me that, I'm like crying, and I just wanted to stop that. And it just felt like a turning moment when she asked me that, like, I think it's time, Courtney. And I feel like that moment of like, okay, I gotta get myself out of this funk, this feeling, and just having to have somebody there that says, okay, I see that you're in the right pathway of getting back onto track. So that's my little spiel for the day. But I just felt like just saying that, like, if you want to see change in yourself, you have to be the change in your life. It's only you that's going to be able to do that. So today's episode is I got to put me first. And I was realizing that I wasn't putting me first. And not saying that, you know, F everybody else, but like I needed to put myself first. I was asking everybody else how they were doing, making sure my kids were good, but I wasn't good. And so just, the steps that I feel like I want to take, like prioritizing my mental health, like in the steps and the steps and the needs, the ones that I need to take in order to prioritize my mental health. So I made a little list. So if you're watching on YouTube, I'm looking at my little list that I wrote out, just so I don't make just so that I can make sure that I'm not missing anything. But as I said in previous episodes, like implementing them self-care days into my schedule. I'm a girly that likes to write out stuff, write out stuff, write out stuff. You can write out and plan out all you want to, but are you implementing them? Are you executing them? No. So I write out stuff in my planners, and sometimes I'm guilty of not doing anything that I wrote out. So I have to be better at disciplining and executing those tasks that I need to get done. So like implementing the self-care days in my months or in my schedules, implementing a little bit of self-care or alone time in the day, like in my daily routine, is a must, because I feel like I'm majority of the day working or doing for other people, and it's like by the time it's time to go to bed, I haven't did anything for myself. So I have to try to find a way to add just 30 minutes to an hour in each day that is about something I want to do or something that needs to be done for me. And then also starting my therapy, I will check back in with you guys once I find a therapist. I really don't want my son's therapist to go, because I really felt so open with her, but I feel like because I was so open with her, I should be willing to be open with somebody else, just to get those thoughts out of my head and somebody to help me analyze what I'm thinking and maybe give me suggestions. Also journaling, like I want to start journaling. Sometimes I don't really like writing out things, but I do put things in my voice memos in my iPhone. If I'm thinking of something or like a topic for a podcast or just a thought that I needed to get out of my head, I record it, and then sometimes I come back to it and I listen to it and then kind of look at the date and say, wow, I was having a rough day that day. And, just to reflect, to see like where I'm at in present day from those voice memos. So I just feel like that's a suggestion. Like if you don't like writing, and maybe writing it out might not be the best way. Also, you could do voice memos. You might be able to do them on your computer too. But you should be able to. I think there's voice memo up here as well. But I do it on my phone, so I can just keep it with me. And then I jot things down in my notes on my phone, because I'm normally with my phone at all times. And so another way that I want to prioritize my mental health, especially as a single mother, like motherhood can really take a toll on your mental health. Like I know, like on social media, on the outside of the world, people make it look like it's glitz and glam, it's so fun, it's so easy to be a mother. But it's hard, okay? It's hard. I'm going to be the mother that's going to tell you, It's hard, but it's okay. It's rewarding and it's hard at the same time. It's the weirdest feeling. Like you're stressed out, but you love those guys. So it's just like that mental, it really taking a mental, like a scratch that. It really taking a toll on my mental health has really been draining for the longest time. And like I said, as a single mother, it really can be hard, and especially when you're a single mother of multiple children, because you have to divvy up your time with everybody, and then by the time you're at the end of the day, you don't have nothing left for yourself. You're exhausted, you're overwhelmed. And to be honest, my kids, like my sons, they have been little knuckleheads at school. And that's been very stressful. Just as soon as I see a phone call pop up on my phone, I'm like, oh gosh, it's the school calling. And just having to like navigate that overwhelming anxiety of them wanting, like, they're doing something at school wrong and trying to get them to like just be good for the day. Just be good for the day. You got one job at school, and that's to do your schoolwork and interact with your friends. So, and I just feel like as a single mother, you could just feel alone majority of the time, because in my household it's 3 against 1. So it's like it's a battlefield out here. And some days I feel like I've been beat up versus me conquering, and that's okay. It's called life. So, and just not feeling like I'm doing enough as a single parent, that can really take a toll on your mental health, especially when the outside world, blames you for everything in the world happening. Like, it could be something simple. Oh, it's because he had a single mother parenthood. Like, I get it. It's better to have the two parent household, but if the two parent household is not a functioning environment, then it's not good either. Like, if it's a toxic environment, it's it's not gonna work. It's, to me, I feel like it'll be worse to stay in a two parent household if you are in a toxic relationship with the other parent. I just don't see the the point of doing that. So, like, being a single mother, like, we already are beaten up by the world about how much they hate single mothers in the world, and we're trying to do our best as to what we got, and just trying to figure it out, because of course majority of single mothers did not plan to be single mothers. We don't want to be single mothers, but it's life. It happens. Things don't work out. And I just feel like the last couple of months I've just had this negative mindset, because things were happening to me like back to back that I don't even think I even processed. And then, like, trying to process them, like, I don't really be having enough time to try to process them. I feel like I have to like sweep it there, sweep it under the rug, keep it moving, because I have other things that I have to focus on. So that really was taking a toll on my mental health, and being negative, and like, why am I being defeated all the time? Like, what is going on, Courtney? So that was one thing that I feel like I need to prioritize, of changing my mindset from being negative, and speaking negative into your life causes negative to come into your life. So, like, for an example, just saying like, I'm broke, or my life is in shambles, my life is chaotic. Like, those words speak into your life, and realizing that me saying like, okay, things are very chaotic, and just giving up and just saying everything's in shambles, like, it was literally playing out in my life, and I needed to start speaking those kind of words into my life, because it wasn't doing anything for me. Like, my mind was chaotic, my household was chaotic, and I'm not saying like people were running around like, so it's just that things weren't in order like they should have been. So having a positive mindset, like, that is something that I've been trying to change, and trying to look at things as far as like, what can I do to make something better? And then also, one another way of me trying to prioritize my mental health is to make time for myself and get in tune with my mental health with will help me be a better parent, meaning that I need to find out the reasons why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling. Because sometimes, as a mom, you kind of might take it out on your kids or project that energy on your kids because they can feel that. And I don't want that to keep happening or want it to happen. So, like, getting better at getting my thoughts out and finding better ways to resolve things is like on my forefront of me trying to be better as a parent. And then taking out the distractions in my life, which could be things, people, things that are not serving me any purpose. So there are things and people that I say, are they serving any kind of purpose, positive purpose in my life? What is it that they're doing? Am I serving anything in their life? So just asking those questions and eliminating. Sometimes it can be hard, especially for people. Like if it's people that you're trying to remove out of your situation, sometimes it's really really hard. Okay, especially like when I get into my co-parenting, episode, like co-parenting with a person that doesn't want to co-parent is very hard, and like that person is not technically serving you purpose, but at the same time you kind of have to deal with them so that they can be in their children's life. So that's like a hard battle to deal with within yourself as well. And distractions meaning like less time on social media, not stressing about followers, likes, engagement, all of that, taking more time instead of just just being on social media. Instead of looking at content, I should be doing content. Especially that's one of my goals is to grow as a content creator. I'm too busy being the fan for everybody else and not a fan for myself. So we have to fix that. And like I already said, like changing my mindset from being negative to positive and speaking positive things into my life. Like sometimes I'll randomly get a thought in my head and I'll just write it out on like my notebook that I'm working out of, and I'll just say, "You are powerful. You are strong. You are gonna get through this." And like when I come back to that paper and it's like, "Oh, I wrote myself a little cute little note," and it just makes me feel way better than what I was before. And so by changing my mindset, I have been listening to podcasts that talk about self care, self love, self improvement, motivational podcasts, mental health podcasts. And some of my favorite YouTube girlies, I watch their videos, and they're like inspiration to me. Being able to change that mindset, like just putting more things in my life. Like if I'm gonna look at social media or be on social media or look at watch YouTube, watch things on TV, like it needs to be something that's going to change my outlook. So that's what I'm doing instead of it just being like mindless scrolling, because that can definitely take away some of your hours in your life, because I do it all the time. And so those are my those are my steps of how I'm going to prioritize my mental health. And one of the other steps of me putting myself first is I finally created that family routine that I have been avoiding for a long time. Like we used to before, COVID and all that, when I was in the office mostly, we really had more of a structure to it where it was like, get up, everybody got to get out out the house at this time, got to get people dropped off at daycare. Then I go to work, come from work, pick them up from daycare, and be at home. So it was more of like an actual routine, a structured type vibe. And now that I have been pre-COVID, after, we're back in the office, some hybrid, and kids are in school, like I really never picked this schedule routine back up. And that was causing me to feel so overwhelmed and so anxious, and feeling like I don't have any control in my day, because I didn't have any plans. Like we were just going with the flow. And I realized I'm not a going with the flow type of person. Especially with my life, I cannot do that. I need some structure because then I really get upset. I really get anxious. I can be depressed because I'm not figuring out why am I feeling like this because you don't have no structure, Courtney. And that's one of the things that my son's therapist kind of kept saying, like, they need structure, Courtney. They need structure. And I'm like, I know, I know. And then I would put it off and then put it off and then put it off. And then I finally wrote in my my notebook that I like jot notes in or whatever. I wrote, create the damn routine, Courtney, as the title. Because I kept saying I'm gonna write it out, write it out, write it out. Or we'll buy like a little, chore chart or whatever. We'll do that for a week and then I don't keep up on it. I'm not disciplined enough to stay on top of it. So now here we are. I finally wrote down our family routine. I let my son therapist know, and she was like, "Oh wow, that's great." And I showed her like what I put in it, and I know that I'm not gonna expect that it's gonna like be an overnight turnover. That it's gonna have to be adjusted, changed. So there's a couple of routines that I kind of made up for us to, and I know I said like putting me first, and I'm saying I'm setting up a family routine, but because I'm the actual adult in the house, in order for me to be able to put myself first, I need to get them, my kids, on some type of routine that's going to work for us and our family. So, and that was my main thing. My main goal was to get some structure back into the household so that we're getting up at 6, getting everybody dressed, getting out the door for school or work, and then picking them up from school, getting back home, having a little bit of free time, do what you want to do, and then we have basically a reading power hour. So like we're all gonna be reading some type of book, and I'll probably be helping the boys with reading more than I'm gonna be reading, but that's okay until they're able to like be able to do it on their own. But doing that, and then everybody, get ready for bedtime afterwards. No, not really bedtime, but just getting the showers, all of those out the way while I'm cooking, so that once cooking and eating is done, we are getting ready to wind down and get ready to go to bed. And that eventually I want it to be a goal of at least 8:30, 9 o'clock is lights out, shutting out. I know it's gonna be really hard for everybody's body, like especially mine, because I'm like a night owl. But I need more sleep so that I can have a productive day the next day. So it might start off as like, okay, lights out 10 o'clock. I know that might sound late for kids or whatever, but I know that I'm going to have to adjust it to where 10 o'clock. And then the following week, 9:30. Then the following week, 9 o'clock. That may help instead of saying, okay, guys, week 1, we're all going to bed at 8:30. And they're going to be like, what? They're gonna look at me like I'm crazy. So I already sent the kids out their little jobs around the house that they got to do. So I only picked a couple of jobs for my boys and a couple of jobs for my daughter. Since she's the oldest, she has more like of the dog type chores and maybe dishes. And then my son, who is 9, we calling him the trash guy. So he's gonna take care of the trash. And then my youngest son, who is 6, still trying to figure out what to give him as a job that he can do. But I know, like, brushing your teeth, taking a bath, putting up your toys, those are like his first starts of doing some chores. Just to help alleviate some of the jobs that I have to do in the house, because lately it's been me doing everything, and it's not going too well when I'm, being snappy because I'm cleaning up everything and I'm not even somewhere, like if it's in the living room. If I'm not even in the living room, why am I the one cleaning it up? If somebody else is majority of the time in that area of the house. So I just feel like taking back control of my life again, because life was lifing me, okay? It was lifing me. And I needed to be in control. Like it was like life 5, Courtney 1. Like it just was not, it wasn't working. And I was just like, Okay, I'm gonna fix it next week. I'm gonna fix it. Like, no, we need to fix it now so that you can not be feeling the way you're feeling because there's so much that's not in order. Like, I should be in control, especially of things that I can control. And if I, like I said, going back to what I said at the beginning, if I wanted to see change, I needed to be the change. Okay? I'm gonna probably write that somewhere in this house. But, and then like evaluating things that I can control in my life and what I can't control in my life is something that I was taught by my therapist, to where this, for example, um, when we first started therapy, I was so frustrated. I was blowing up my son's father to, pick them up, to interact with them, to do what he needed to be, to do what he needed to do. But she made me realize, like, I can't control another person. I only control myself. So once I let go of that feeling, I was able to be like, okay, if he's not picking them up, okay, we'll figure out something else. We'll do something together, or I will get a babysitter. And taking that control back from their father was something that I really needed to do, because I felt like he fed on that, and that just wasn't fair to me or the children. So just try to see what you can control in your life, and that I try to implement in my schedule, in my routine. And the things that I can't control, I try not to fester over, because that adds extra stress that I really don't need. And then setting up the systems to achieve my overall goals, is another thing that I wanted to in place in the family routine, because once I have that routine and have that system going, then I can have more time to be able to do content creation, or to do family things with the kids, or to work on my business instead of being like on the computer, my work computer, all the time, and then never having enough time to give to myself or to my kids. So that is where the family routine comes into play. And I will definitely check in with you guys to see how we've been doing with this family routine. And if it's working, and if I had to change anything, I will let you guys know. Let me know what you guys do in your household. Do you guys have a family routine? What time do you guys think is a good time for kids to go to bed? Like I said, my kids are 14, 9, and 6. So I'm thinking 8:30, no later than 9 is what I want to do. But I want to know from you guys. So let me know on Instagram, or let me know on TikTok. What do you guys do as far as a family routine? And then so, oh. And then so the next thing I asked myself was, how do I recognize when it's time to take that break and to prioritize myself? I feel as if when I'm feeling very snappy, and that's towards my kids, my friends, co-workers, or just not feeling in the mood, or just being overwhelmed, anxious, just having negative thoughts. Like, I try to take a step back and try to separate myself from the situation, and try to see what can I do to change my reaction to the situation. um, or find out what's the undertone. Why am I feeling like I don't want to talk to nobody? Why am I feeling like that? How can I fix that? And just needing the time to myself, just to reset, and to be able to come back to motherhood, or back into work with a positive attitude. And what are some other ways to show some love and affection to yourself? And one way that I answered this is that I want to set up two jars, where it is a self-care activities jar for one. So like, jot down a couple of, things that you want to do with yourself. Like I said, you don't have to spend money if you don't want to spend money. It could just be alone time, taking yourself to lunch, taking yourself to dinner, going for a walk, going for a run, reading your book. Those things could be activities for self-care, and like putting those all in a jar. And then like when I'm having my self-care day, or like I'm feeling like, okay, I need a little break, I need a little self moment, I can go into that jar and pick out something to do for the day or for that time being. So like if I picked out of the jar like reading the book, I can take my time of the 30 to an hour to myself and read the book that I've been wanting to get into. And then the other jar that I want to make for myself, and I'm thinking about doing this for the kids as well, because I want them to, see their wins and see they could be small or they could be big. So like the other jar would be like an accomplished jar. I don't know if that's gonna be the name of it, but basically it would be like if I'm feeling some kind of doubt for myself, I can be able to go back to that jar, read some of my little notes that I made for myself, and say, "Oh wow, I did do that." Okay, like give myself some motivation. And like for the kids doing that, I feel like if they had a great day at school or they had a super student, sometimes my son comes home with a super student like head little thing, like little head crown. That could be something where he could write in his jar and, look back and like look at all the positive things that you're doing, because sometimes we kind of like fester on the negative things, and I want to get away from that. So like now Roman is reading a little bit better. Like he's able to read on his own. Not reading level reading grade level, but he's making so much progress to where he's getting there, that's an accomplishment for him. Because at first he didn't even want to be able to read. He was so shy, and it made him so anxious. And now, after a lot of hard work from his teacher, shout out to her, and his sped teacher as well. Now he's like, I want to read this, and like it's certain things I don't even know that he know how to read, and he'll read it to me. I'm like, oh, no, you don't, Roman. Oh my gosh, you know how to read. So those things really hype me up, and I feel like when they're hyped up, then they want to do better, especially at school. So like with Karan, if he knows how to like handle his mood a little bit better, or know how to react to something a lot better than he normally does, like writing that in that jar and then coming back to it when he's having a bad day or something could definitely motivate him to want to do better, want to be better. Because I know, well, I don't know how it feels to have a mood disorder, but I'm pretty sure he doesn't want to be the way he is. It's just how his brain is functioning. And I know like some of that could be a part of how I'm stressed, because and that mom guilt comes back up, because it's like, what did I do wrong? Like how did my kids end up having like the development delay, the sensory processing disorder, the mood dysregulation disorder, ODD, ADHD, like just all of these things where it's like I have to take on so much by myself, and that can be a lot for a two-parent household, and it's definitely a lot for a single-parent household. So yeah, so 2 jars, like, so if you're thinking of doing something like that, let me know. So the 2 jars, like I've seen this on TikTok and Instagram, basically just showing yourself like you have done some good things, okay? So the 2 jars would be a self-care activity jar and an accomplishment jar. And like I said, I might not call it that. I don't know what I'm gonna call it, but something like that. And just for, the takeaway of this episode, I gotta put me first. You are the only person that truly knows you. So when you are feeling out of your element, take a step back, try to figure out what the issue is, resolve it, and then put your best foot forward. And I'm telling you this because I'm telling myself this as well too. Like I can be so hard on myself, and I want to stop doing that, because that's not doing anything but bringing more negative thoughts, and I need to be more positive. So it can be hard to put yourself first, but it's very important for you to do that so that you can be a better you. Because if you're not functioning as the best version of yourself, how can you be that best version for everybody else? Like, your partner, your children, you as a daughter or a son, if there's any guys listening to this, like how can you need to put yourself first so that and I'm not saying it in sometimes you have to be selfish about it, because if you're always that person that likes to give to everybody else but don't give to yourself, like you have to fix that. And your kids will see the difference, because they'll see that your mother or your father or their mother or their father is having a good day, so I should have a good day. Those vibes that you give to your kids, they feel them. Because I can feel it when I feel bad, when I'm like not in the mood, and then they're not in the mood. Like if I'm yelling, then they're yelling, and I have to fix that. So that's something that you don't really want them to feed off of. Just giving them positive energy, positive affirmations, just trying to fix those things within myself is how I'm going to put myself first. And believe in yourself. Stop self-sabotaging. Stop self-doubting yourself. Do what's best for you. I mean, everybody's going to have their opinion, but you know yourself more than anybody else. So, yeah. So I just want to say thank you for listening to today's episode, and make sure you subscribe to the podcast channels wherever you're listening from Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or if you're watching the visuals on YouTube at the Occasionally Social Podcast on YouTube. Subscribe, comment, let me know what you think. What's some other topics that you would like to listen or talk about? And let's keep the conversation going on the socials. So the question I asked earlier was, how do you recognize when it's time to take a break and to prioritize yourself? Let me know in the comments. Let's chat. I want to hear from you. So it could be in the chat, not the chat. It could be in the comments of Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube. I check those frequently. Just let me know how you recognize when it's time for you to take a break and to step back and prioritize yourself. And you can find us on the socials on IG, Occasionally Social Podcast, TikTok, The Occasionally Social Pod, and YouTube, The Occasionally Social Podcast. So don't forget to leave a review if you like the actual episode. Let me know what you think. It will be very appreciative if you leave comments, engage, because I would love to talk to you guys. And I think that's about it for today. So yeah, until next time, bye.